the Jet Smith, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you today because we have some big news in college basketball. High-ranked prospect McCord Maker has decided not to go to North Carolina like you, not to go to Kentucky, not to go to Louisville, not to go to the Power 5 Conference, not to go to UCLA. He is committed to go to Howard University. Do you think this could start a trend where more prospects go to HBCUs?
I think that, if you're a prospect and you say, well, I'm only going to be somewhere for 5 months, it really doesn't make a difference a lot of times. Obviously, he's a top 5 recruit. He's been his family. He's got a pedigree of basketball in his family. But most of these guys, Jalen, they're not like even you. You guys are Fab Five and all that. You guys stayed more than 1 year. These guys are only in a university for 4 months out of a year. That's it, and they're gone. And a lot of them never see spring classes ever. So now I'm not surprised, especially with the social unrest and not justice going on. This might be a trend for sure.
How do you feel like this decision and potentially Mikey Williams long-term with the G League trying to get a situation in order, paying players more, and obviously prospects going overseas? How do you think this is going to impact collegiate basketball? There is such a narrow gap between college basketball greatness and not anymore. Even we see the tournaments in the past years, teams that make the Final Four. So the only difference, the biggest difference, obviously, from a Howard, from a North Carolina, Kentucky, is the facilities for one. The facilities inside the arena, the facilities to work out. But across the board, you have great coaches in a lot of places. So coaching you can get. Competition, if it continues, then you get to be competitive against the same type of competition that you're going to face in 4 months. But when guys were jumping from high school to the pros, the competition level in high school is nowhere near pro. So that 4 months, man, it's not much of a difference.
Kenny, I just realized that you were flexing your Emmys behind you in the background. Why'd you have to do that to us, Kenny? Why'd you have to do that to us?
My back was itching. I got a little.
That is good. We're coming for one.
I get itchy.
We're coming for one.
Hey, Jacoby, rich. See that piano back there? Yeah, all black people get rich and buy pianos and never play.
I can't play.
Hey, Jalen, I'm the only one in the house who doesn't play. I've probably been on this piano 5 times.
And you bought it.
And I bought it. But all the kids, they know how to do it, but I don't. I have no idea.
It looks like we are going to have NBA basketball in Orlando in the bubble, restarting it. We all know the format. Now, Jalen has changed his championship pick from the Lakers to the Clippers because of the lack of Avery Bradley in Orlando. So very simple question for you. Who is your championship favorite in Orlando?
I'm going to take the average weight of the team divided by 12, and whoever is closest to 215, that wins. Because I don't know who's got out of shape. This has been 4 months. I'm not going to name names, but there are players that call I'm talking to, and they go, I'm like, hey, what you doing? This is doing early in the pandemic. It's like, I live in a penthouse apartment in New York, or I live in a penthouse apartment in this city. I don't have access to nothing. So to me, the guys who've had access throughout these 3 months have a clear advantage. I go for younger teams, Jalen. I go like Milwaukee and Denver and Boston, those teams who are young and experienced. Those guys, they train differently to get ready than a LeBron. Like LeBron's teams typically rise and ascend throughout the year. These guys, when you're young, Jalen, I don't know about you, but your first 4 years in the league, you train like it was for the finals day one. That's how I did it. Where LeBron, if my 5th, 7th year in the league, I'm like, no, I'm gonna ease into this.
Ease into it.
You can't ease it. You dropped in the middle of like, let's go. 4 months is a long time, man.
How do you feel players being in a bubble in Orlando while the fight for social injustices is happening in our society? How do you think that will impact their mobility to continue to let their voices be heard?
Well, I would say for, I understand 100% what Kyrie Irving was saying. It made when I first heard it, I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense, not playing social injustice. But I also know that there are guys like Montrezl Harrell whose voice is bigger when he's playing. I would like to know what he's doing. I would like to know what he thinks. I would like to know how he could, impact society, because I think the movement of social injustice didn't start with any celebrity or any sport figure. It started, throughout this pandemic, the awareness of it more in this recent times, starting in the pandemic, and no celebrity or no basketball player, football player was the leader of this cause. No knee was knelt. I think so now, I don't think that it will stop because basketball is stopped. I think it could be a bigger voice. And because, Jalen, if we put the salaries, and Jacoby, if we put the salaries of the NBA together, it's the richest, most wealthiest group of African-American men in the world. So they should have the biggest voice now. And I call it the Paul Revere syndrome. I think it was like, the British are coming, the British are coming. Like, oh, social injustice, that's been said. But there was a group of people who said, okay, when they come, what are we going to do? That's what the NBA could be. Okay, now that we are aware, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to donate money. This is time and resources to these causes to get it done.
It's a really good point, Kenny. One of the things that's been discussed while this is all happening around the NBA is having more people in front office positions, head coaching positions, and potentially ownership positions that are black. Do you think we will see that soon?
I think it definitely needs to be proportionate. We can't have disproportion like we have in the jail systems. We can't have disproportion in terms of ownership. We can't have disproportions in terms of, general managers. We can't have disproportion in terms of coaching in any sport that we're prevalent in or playing in. So it's proportionate. No one's asking for more. Just with the proportionate rate should be the same. You can't have a disproportionate rate of people that are African-American in jail when you don't have it. You just can't have it. So that means that it's a systematic thought process that's not working. And that's what we're asking for. We're not asking for all lives that matter. We're asking for proportionate rates. That's it.
It's a really good point. And you can always get exclusive
for those that try
content.
To hijack the term Black Lives Matter, I want to put a word at the end of it for you guys so you don't get confused. Just add the word "to." Black Lives Matter 2. If you get confused. I'm sorry, Jacoby.
You can always get exclusive content with Kenny Smith there, name and logo, and looks like it's going to happen. They announced they're going to do a thorough review of the team name. Well, guess what? I can perform that review right now. Look at it, read it, it's racist, reviewed. What do you think, Jalen Rose?
Our show has been at the forefront of acknowledging the fact that while we will represent the fact that there's a team that plays football in the NFL in Washington, we haven't used that term for a decade on this program, and our supporters, I'm pretty sure, appreciate that. It's time. It's a seminal moment in our country. With Jacoby, I want to throw a caution flag out there. I looked down at my phone since the tragic murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice. The list goes on and on and on. Eric Garner. And I see corporate America figuring out ways to make change systematically for racism. But you know what I also see? Letters, checks, and lip service. Let's keep score and see if these companies actually do it. And the reason why I bring that up is because Dan Snyder is being forced to change the name. Mm-hmm. He clearly let us know he didn't want to do it. You know why he's doing it? Because his sponsors of about $620 billion, one of them being FedEx, is basically standing on the table forcing his hand. It's not being done because it's genuine or the right thing to do.
Yes, it's taken way too long, and it's happening for the wrong reasons. It shouldn't take this sort of financial motivation to change this name. But it's not just this name. It's other names in sports, too. The Cleveland baseball team, the Atlanta baseball team, so on and so forth. All of those need to change, and I feel like they will change soon. we move on to an exciting development in the NFL. Cam Newton being the quarterback for the New England Patriots. He posted this on social media. A lot of people discussing his low salary. And he said at the bottom, "This is not about money. For me, it's about respect." Jalen, what does he mean by that?
You know I'm rooting for Cam and I'm rooting for Jameis because anytime combined they make less money than multiple quarterbacks in the league that we don't know who they are and don't have the resume, that makes Cam in a position to basically be excellent for the New England Patriots. I'm anticipating that. And you know what else I'm anticipating, Jacoby? He's only going to be there one season. Cam Newton, in my opinion, is going to be with the Patriots one season. He's going to reclaim his value. They never had to truly invest in Tom Brady. I don't believe they will truly invest long-term in Cam. So this is his bridge, along with the Patriots, since they lost Tom Brady, to play one season with them. That's all it's going to be.
That's a good point. I never considered that. But if you look at the AFC, I think Cam Newton will up his value as an NFL quarterback, reestablish himself as a true top-tier starter. However, with the skill players around him, he's not going to make a run deep into the playoffs in the AFC if there are playoffs. So then after this season's over, his value will be high. The success he had with the team will be moderate so that New England will look at him and say, you know what? Maybe this is the time where Jared Stidham finally gets to play. Moving on, Jalen, the NFL is trying to support the fight against social injustice. And one of the ways they're going to do so is to play the song Lift Every Voice and Sing before every game in week 1. Jalen, what do you think about this sort of curious move by the NFL?
As we continue to make changes in our country, I want people to remember how they felt when Colin Kaepernick chose to do a peaceful protest before football games. And if you are in an uproar, you clearly, number one, have never really listened to the national anthem or don't know some of the words and the verses in that song have been omitted for a reason. And number two, the NFL, so far behind in social justice, finally catches up here. And they do the right thing. They played it safe, Jacoby. We're not going to alienate the fans that feel disrespected by somebody protesting during the national anthem. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to eliminate it. We're just going to eliminate it. It's like, it's one thing not to show it on TV because that's what networks are going to do because they don't want to show people protesting. But it's another thing wholeheartedly to just not play it. And so for the players, NFL, don't believe that they won't take a knee when they hear lift every voice and sing.
Welcome back to Jalen Jacoby. Want to thank Kenny Smith for coming through. We did about 20 minutes on the podcast with him. You can get that exclusive content. You Tigers. We're all doing what we can to stay in shape during the quarantine. And check out what Coach O is up to. He's fighting. Jalen, what do you think about Coach O with the boxing gloves on in the squared circle?
I like Coach O in that video of him running down the street. I love that he's a head coach and he's staying in shape. But that video gives me life right there. I'm motivated right there. Somebody with bad knees and tendonitis, I'm motivated by that right there.
I like it because he reminds me of myself. Really skinny limbs, but a sort of a big middle section. Again,
and he reminds me of myself because he's running like he's about to fall over.
And he reminds me of me because he's sweating. We'll be back on Monday at 4 o'clock on ESPN. Dan Le Batard, highly questioned.